Good morning, everyone. Microphone check. Screen check. Yeah, looks like everything's working correctly here. All right. Good. Welcome, welcome. Everyone's still logging in a little bit here. It's all good. Good morning. Welcome. SSFTG family. Hopefully everyone has been able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead, all that fun stuff. As per the usual, make sure to read through the morning prep PDF on the right side of the screen there. It's very important to read through it and understand everything that is inside there. Just a quick note for you all as well before we jump on in. If you're watching on the YouTube side of things, the stream does have between like a 5 and 30 second delay, which will definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about at any given moment. All right. There. Just want to take a second, like we do every day, every time, to thank all of our new members, subscribers, Academy students, VIPs, and everyone in between. Thank you all so much for the support. I'm super excited to have you all on board. Welcome to the SSFTG family. If you aren't a member yet, you do have several different options to check out if you're looking to further your trading education and career. The easiest way to start out is to join as a member on YouTube. It gets you in the chat room and a bit more behind the scenes stuff on what's going on. Or if you want more information on how we do everything in our trading approach and all that fun stuff with over 19 hours of video course material, swing over to the main page at SSFTG to get more info about that. So either way, whether you're here for the very first time or you're one of the VIP veterans over on the dedicated stream, welcome. I'm glad to have you trading alongside of me today, analyzing these crazy markets of ours, wrapping up this crazy week. Let's take a look at some charts, see what's going on today. Whoops, I had this on the wrong thing the whole time. My bad. Get that up there. There we go. All right. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you on the major 7 markets that we take a look at. NASDAQ, S&P, Gold, Crude, Euro, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. It's a race every time. I'll leave them up a little longer for you. The news calendar for today, we have some news, there's a ton of news that happened at 8:30, but nothing really that big until we started moving into a little bit later at 10 o'clock, where we've got Fed Chair Powell speaking a bit later today. That's really about it. I mean, we do have our Michigan numbers and U.S. Baker Hughes oil rig count and CFTC speculative net position stuff, all the normal hubbub. But really, the only news that we've got to worry about is 10 o'clock, and that's about it. Pretty straightforward. Get that out of the way. Jump over and take a look at the bigger picture here on the S&P. First off, we did have a very nice reversal off of the lows, obviously, with an incredible rally to the upside. And the one question that we've been asking ourselves is, is this wave 1, wave 2? Where's the end of wave 3? What the heck's going on? Is this wave 3, wave 4, wave 5? Maybe completion? In all honesty, this looks a lot more like what we were talking about before. They put in a better high. They create a solid attempt from the sellers. This fits much better for a wave 3 into wave 4 cycle. The thing that's kind of a bummer, I wish it would have started over here, and maybe it did if you look for smaller cycles, but I just don't think that fits these overall swing sizes. This makes a lot more sense. And with a relatively decisive wave 2, it does make sense that wave 4 is a mess all up here. It fits the bill. It's doing what it should be doing at least. All things considered, though, bulls will be looking for a rotation back up, and that's likely not going to happen until the sellers get out of the way. If we roll a POC from left to right here, from the base all the way across, we have that POC test at 44.83. The market is attempting to get underneath. You can see, holding very nicely, continuation down. A bit of a, wow, it's been a while since we've seen an avalanche wedge, especially on the S&P. But we've got an avalanche wedge. They're breaking above it, testing the POC, but not going down. There's some problems here. If they get back above, it's showtime back up to the highs again. Now, if the sellers do show up to the party and start breaking down, remember, there's not really much until we get back to that POC, which is down here, sub 44, like 35-ish. That's got a ways to go. Over on gold, still seeing a moderate sideways to slight continuation to the upside, all things considered. I mean, if we look at the nearer term and kind of get rid of this back here, that's pretty much done at this point. If we look a little bit closer and kind of see what's going on, we do have a nice trend that's working its way up regardless of where you're looking at it. But we're starting to have some trouble. The market's going a bit sideways, having some difficulty. And if we go from the bottom all the way up, let's go to the most recent reset in swing, which would be right about here. And we'll start our story from that point. We've got a little bit of a wedge kind of building across, started widening it out, didn't work, started widening it out, didn't work. Looks like a wolf wave. With a continuation break above the highs, fantastic breakout pullback into a continuation higher. So, I mean, this is a really nice move. Realistically, we should see a POC that got left behind. And what do you want to bet? That little pullback right there was what pulled back, what it pulled back to. Yep, there it is. So that little pullback right there, that little flag after the wedge breakout pullback was nothing more than a POC regrab. Sellers who were stuck short, especially with a candle that looks like that. A lot of those shorts are just trying to run. Like, please, for the love of everything, just get me out. And you'll notice when the market came back, because it never physically tested it, where did the market bounce when it did eventually come back? Weird. It's almost like we were talking about areas for long interest down there on gold yesterday. Anyway, this little pullback zone, this is the opportunity. Earlier sellers who were stuck were given the chance to get out, and they very obviously took it. And if they weren't sure to take it on this, when it bounced, they were sure to take it the next time around, and now we're seeing it reverse back the other way. So we've got some context. We've got some earlier shorts that are exiting, and they've been given a chance to exit fully at break even. If we migrate this POC all the way up to the top, we can see that they didn't change it yet. My data's bugged, though. Hang on. Yeah, okay, so they still didn't change it. Good. That makes that a lot more probabilistic that we get a bounce there anyway, but that little extra continuation and reversal movement to the upside, the POC still hasn't changed, 1788. I don't necessarily know that I would want to be the first one to the party. If anything, this looks like a wave 1 type formation that may still be building. I would rather see from the top across, where's the breakout point? That's the same spot. So buyers want a little bit more of a pullback, at least down to like 92. But 88, that's the big one. The nice thing about this is the risk versus reward's pretty solid. It would be nice if it was a bit lower, but up to the all-time highs, it fits a 3-to-1. If I were going to go for a 3-to-1, I would try to probably get a slightly better entry, maybe even down here at the lows, 85.7. That at least mitigates a little bit more risk, increases the probability that you're going to get it done. And if you're trading multiple contracts, a 2-to-1 should fit inside settlement. Yeah, right there. It's more favorable from that perspective at around 85.8. I don't know if it'll hit that, but this is the hot spot. Over on crude oil, just beautiful continuation to the upside. Hey, Steven, how's it going? With this movement to the upside, we really haven't... I mean, have we even really pulled back? Was that last pullback finally an L1? Because if we go here, they didn't get the L1 there. Pop up to a new high. They got the L1. This was the first time that the market tested any pullback of measurable distance, and that was an L1. And let's double check. Okay, so it did hit it. Good. Just being sure here. Let's move this a little further forward. That was right there. Just so we can keep an eye on what the sequence is, because this is really far detached. So we had an L1 sequence off of the lows, which continued up into another L1 sequence, which just continued back up into the highs. Sorry, I think I said lows before. Highs is what I meant. Let's get that off the bottom. Now, for you Academy members, for those of you who made it through up to Unit 2, Chapter 8, you know exactly what I'm looking for next. That's pretty straightforward from here. Looking for some upside continuation makes a lot of sense on crude oil, and the next objective is going to be the next L1 to L2, preferably L1, which at the moment is... we're hovering around right about here. Here we go. I wish I had an L1, L2... Well, whatever. It's there. This is the hot spot. See what they're able to get done. Over on the euro, starting to pull back. Again, the overall trend, remember, still to the downside. We don't have proof until they break above these highs. Hey, Ace, how's it going? So this is kind of concerning, right? Because we're looking at it like, well, wait a minute. Is this just a value pullback for the shorts? Initially, it looked like they were trying to get it done and maybe they failed. But, well, now they're back in action again. So these value shorts to the downside, all they've had to risk is this much. I mean, let me use the right color here. All they've had to use risk is this much. Realistically, their downside objectives could still easily be, even down to the lows, is like a 2-to-1. There's a lot of interest here. Now I'm curious, what does the volume look like on this whole wraparound thing? Yeah, we're back into the POC too. So, I mean, they're definitely gaining some short interest, that's for sure. Over on Bitcoin, still continuing that overall trend to the upside. They're grinding deep pullbacks, etc. In terms of a value pullback, we're resting right, I mean, basically right there, 46,000s, 46,200s in that area. Right around value, which is basically where we're parked. We'll see. Bears are still grinding lower. I would love to look at volume, but I don't want to crash my charts. Over on Ethereum, this is where bulls want to try to build in, but until they get an actual proof pulse, we don't have that. At the moment, we're just grinding underneath the lows, trying to get back above. This is where they've got to prove it. So if Ethereum's going to hold it, bulls know that they have a very low risk for a pretty good reward, almost a 3-to-1. If they can get slightly better in, yeah, 3-to-1's all the way up to the high. Not bad. Oh boy, what a chart. Okay, looking at the daily first and seeing what's going on here from this perspective. That's not what I wanted to delete. Oh, whatever. We didn't hit the upside objective in terms of the candle gap yet. The other candle gap is beginning to fill in on that last bear bar. And if we look at the overall transition, the last time we have a nice, really strong rally to the upside and the market slows down, the next bar after it, if it's bearish, is usually really big. We don't have that this time around. In fact, we've got a really kind of mediocre bear bar. And the last time we saw something like that, after a strong rally up, the market went sideways for, about a week or so, and then continued on its merry way. They have a sideways pulse after a nice rally to the upside, goes sideways for about a week or so, maybe traps underneath the low, reverses back up. We're looking at trying to transition more likely into sideways. And now that we have this sideways move, or this pullback here, at the very least, correction here, we're probably not going to move very far up or down out of this. Fingers crossed that's wrong, though. I would rather be bullish, of course. If we're looking at the 15-minute perspective and kind of seeing where we're at, again, we're holding underneath those POCs. This is that big point of interest, like, hey, is this actually going to prove it and hold here? Or are they going to fail? And so far, yesterday, remember, they were trying to get back above. They just poked their head above it, but they couldn't close any candles above it. Rolled all the way back down. This initial pulse down, that's kind of like the warning shot. Like, hey, this isn't going to end well. The next time we go up, you might want to jump ship. And that's what they did. They jumped ship. We haven't rolled down to a new low. That's the interesting part here. Now, this is very obviously where sellers are making their attempt. This rotation down, beautiful consolidation. Incredibly difficult to ask for much more than that. And realistically, off of the lows, they've probably got a POC hovering inside of there anyway. Which they do. So this is where the sellers are making their attempt. This is a valid attempt from the shorts who are trying to get this to rotate down. The nice thing for shorts here is if they do get it to rotate down, the risk really isn't that high. I mean, there is the smaller risk here, but there is also the slightly wider risk above the top, which still fits like 3-to-1s down to the previous POC node at 15,060. There's a lot of room for this to potentially run. Some caveats, maybe a channel low, and a few other things that might step up in the face of it. Looking really, really nice, though. This consolidation here is crazy. Looking at the back and forth that took place after the open, this was the valid low. Okay. So going off of that cycle, really, it's just gone straight up and have kind of pulled back. We did have that L1 initially. The secondary L1, which hasn't made it up to that top side objective. That's a concern. Hey, Seven, how's it going? Everybody else so far, welcome. Do you mind if I call you Lad? Ladislav? Lad? Laddie. I love it. I've always wanted to say it, but I know, like, names, it's always weird. Some people are really personal about it. I've always had a weird name my whole life, so it's always been good for me, you know? Like, whatever. It doesn't bother me. Lad the Impaler. Ooh, I love it. There was a song back in, like, the late 90s, early 1000s, Vlad the Impaler, what was it by? It's the guys who dress up in all those crazy outfits, and they got kicked out of the U.S. for a while. Or they got kicked out of Europe or whatever. What was her name? I can't think of their name now. Gwar. That's what it was. Gwar. Gwar. It's the most ridiculous band I've ever seen in my life. They had a song called Vlad the Impaler. That's what that reminds me of. Anyway. Now that that mental roadblock is cleared up. I like it, Ace. Yeah, 10 watch and hit the like button. Come on. It means that there should be at least like 8 to 10 likes, right? And what is it you prefer to be? Me? I really don't care, to be honest. I've been called everything. John Henry, JH, whatever. The only one that I really don't like, unless it's by really close friends, is Johnny, because that's what my dad calls me. But other than that, it doesn't really bother me. And it's not like I'm going to freak out at someone if they called me that, but I really don't care. My mom has always called me by my full name because that's what she named me, by God's graces. Hey, you. Yeah. That was always my grandpa. If he didn't know you, you were a you. That was you. Hey, you. Hands on shoulders like a proper, or hands on hips like a proper Dutchman. Oh, yeah, it's all good. I gotta say, you know, we've got, 8 minutes or so until the open. Market's kind of consolidated. I want to believe the sellers are trying to take over, but I mean, that leg down doesn't exactly prove anything. I honestly, I'm not sure what the spelling. I would assume 2 N's, right? Johnnn, Johnnny, maybe. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, when the mom calls you by full name, you know you're in trouble. Oh, exactly. See, the thing for me is I never had a middle name. I don't have a middle name. My first name was hyphenated. So I never got like the whole impact of the, calling someone by their full name with their middle name and like, okay. I've always had my middle name said, like, and I don't know. It's not imposing, really. Oh, for sure. Back in the day, man, you pick up a wood spoon now and CPS is on the other line. I remember back in the day, it was spoons, belts, sticks, whatever was around. Welcome to growing up on a farm. Go break that stick off. I don't want to. No. You don't pick the thin stick. You learn real fast not to pick the thin one. Oh boy, that one hurts a lot more. Yeah, the other one, aside from Jingleheimer Schmidt, was John Henry the Railroad. He digging the tunnels. My uncle got me the LP, the record of that, as like as a birthday present. It's really cool. This conversation reminds me I'm old for sure. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for asking. I appreciate it, Ace. Yeah, things are going well. You know, it's on the up and up, right? The rubble is less. Things are going better. That's all we can really ask for. You know, it's just kind of continue to distract the mind and keep going, you know? But it's getting there. Yeah, the steam engine driller, exactly. Took that machine out. Stupid algos. See, I'm bringing the battle to life. I'm keeping it going. We're just fighting them on a different front, that's all. They're not driven by steam anymore. I've got a natural, inherent grudge built into engines of any kind. Automation is just, I hate it, built into my blood. I don't know why. Market's still hovering around, not really doing much. You've got 5 minutes until the open. I mean, who's really winning the fight here? We started this with a rally to the upside, but the Bulls had their shot back at 15,325. They didn't take it. They slipped. So now that we're sliding back down again, we can kind of take this a little further and say, well, wait, if they're slipping, let's go down to the lows and see, you know, maybe these are the shorts who are winning the fight. And if they are, where are they likely trying to go? First off, if these are shorts who don't know, sorry for the gopher whistle, that they're looking for the downside move, they're going to be looking for a scalp. Well, the beautiful thing is we just rifled through that scalp area. So with the scalp area breaking down, we now have a zone of potential interest to hold the market and keep it going lower. The next objective for shorts is going to be a 2-to-1. Down right around settlement. I mean, it fits, you know. From that assumption, the shorts have gotten their scalp targets off and are looking for larger targets to the downsides. And if we see a reversal back above the 322s, we know that we've had a valid attempt from the sellers that have satisfied targets. That would add a lot of fuel to the bullish fire. This does also kind of line up, if we're looking at it from a cycle. How much time we have? About 3.5 minutes. From the cycle perspective, wave 1, wave 2, wave 2, very neat and tidy, right? Very neat and tidy. So wave 3, big. Wave 4, it makes a lot of sense that wave 4 looks like a freaking mess. So if we can get that transition above the 22s, or maybe even push the POC down a little bit and go above it, that could be the completion of 4 into 5. As long as we don't break back into this previous swing high, it's okay. From an impulse perspective. Still valid down to there. $9.28 right around the corner. That's the next big chunk of movement that usually comes in. We are going into a Friday, and, well, you know, Fridays with this POC shifting and everything going on, Fridays are usually some of the biggest days for the Bears and for the Bulls, really. Mondays and Fridays are the biggest days. Keep in mind, this is the last Friday of the month before we go into September. There are 2 more days, trading days, in September, but it's the last Friday of the month. It's the last full week of the month. Jeez, I just realized my birthday's only like a couple of weeks away. I always forget about my birthday. It's surprising, right? But I don't know, after you turn like 25, the benefits stop. You know, you just kind of stop caring. I'm more interested in when are my kids' birthdays, so I don't forget those. Or $9.28 comes and goes. Not really much happened. Still just kind of hovering. We don't really have much from a structure perspective. There hasn't been enough from a structure perspective. I was thinking about, and we still have a couple days left, but going into Friday, I was thinking about doing in September like a small account challenge, trading the micro, like one contract in, one contract out kind of stuff. Or like maybe a little bit on the bigger side to add some flexibility, like 2 or 3 in and 2 out and try to run kind of thing. But something on a smaller scale. I think a lot of people coming into September are going to be looking for solutions on the micro scale, something that's a bit more feasible in terms of risk. And as we start increasing volatility, it's going to become more and more necessary. 30 seconds till the open. Sellers are still winning the fight. 3-1 objective to the downside for the shorts, still around the corner, and settlement's not too far away. Realistically, if they're looking for actual risk targets, if they took the entry, their 3-1 actuals are right at settlement. I mean, man, it's right there. The S&P is opening with an inside gap to the upside, kind of in no man's land. Not really anywhere of interest. Some resistance maybe across the 75s, but it'd be a little more beneficial to see up like 77, 75. I would really even prefer to see like 79, but, you know, when is too far just getting greedy? More momentum down. Technically, the impulse wave is still valid. Technically speaking. Market retracing back up to the 322s. I want to see how this responds, because realistically, a lot of traders are going to be approaching this with a mentality of possibly shorting with continuation. So I want to see how they respond to this impulse move. Retesting the POC at 322, churning above it. Okay. Let's see how they want to finish this candle off. Ooh. They were able to close above it. POC shifting up. That could be sellers trying to take it lower from this 21 quarter. Remember, we're looking at 2 different POCs. 22 is the larger POC. 21 is the one that is shifting to the downside with shorts trying to get it to go. And I think that just kind of gave them their answer. Bulls looking for a bit of continuation to the upside here on shorts jumping ship and longs looking to get in. I would like to see like any kind of pullback, really. Nice pulse down here for longs to kind of re-up and shorts to potentially exit. I didn't get filled on the secondary portion. Fantastic. Okay. Shifting around back towards the 22s. At the moment, 2-1 still fits inside. Market hovering. I want to see them continue with some closes back above these POCs and get some extra proof here. Good area for pullback buyers to try to grab a little bit more on the dip. A little bit of a deeper pullback than I wanted. We're back underneath the POC, but so long as they're staying above the lows, that's fine. I already know that I'm taking this from a scalper's approach. Okay. Perpetually met with no fills in and out here. That's not making it any fun. Nice little blow off low. Whoop. That's not what I wanted to move. Come here. There we go. Nice bull bar for the pulse back up. Whoop. Oh, now is not the time to fat finger keys, John. Jeez. Little bit of volume build up in the 318s. Reduce risk a little bit on this continuation pulse to the upside. Beautiful momentum. Take an extra one off there. Back down, retesting that break-even point again. Still hovering around these POCs, and the market kind of popped up, bounced back down again. I don't necessarily mind this pullback here, depending on how they respond to it. Upside objectives, 2-to-1s fit inside up at the 35s or so. Maybe a little bit lower. That retest and rejection of the POC, I tried to exit and it wouldn't even get me a fill. I was going to say, makes sense to reduce some risk, and I think a lot of traders are taking that note. It just didn't give me a fill. Market's still hovering. First area is going to be up in the 2875s. I like this little dip to increase the risk just a little. Keeping an eye on the way that they're kind of moving around here. definitely a good choice for the reduction of risk on the last pop, but if they start cracking underneath this area, that's fine, but this is starting to create a scenario where longs are going to have a harder time wanting to hold on. Remember, it's still a valid impulse, but if we dip underneath 92.25, the reasoning for that's gone. So this is kind of like the last ditch. They've got to make this work or get out of the way, really. We're back to the impulse. Oh, they broke through it. All right. So that creates an invalidation scenario. We are dipping back to the settlement, so I do like this as a zone of support, but I've got to approach this in a totally different way. The original purpose of the trade was for an impulse continuation, which we are not getting. So effectively, I'm just looking at this dip back to settlement to draw my way out of the trade. Just hovering sub-break evens. This puts my average in an incredibly favorable location for a potential continuation up off of a settlement dip. But remember, the original purpose of the trade was for a continuation phase to the upside back above the POC, which they just failed off of. So if the bulls are going to take it, they're going to have to show up to the party. Couldn't quite make it back up to the break-even point, which is why I'm still long. The break-even point being that horizontal magenta line there at 303.25. Retesting the previous swing high area. Lots and lots of volume. The next news announcement isn't until 10 o'clock. Still haven't technically hit it. Re-added a little bit on the dip to compensate for some of the loss. Let's see if they can blow off through the top here with this last one. Couldn't get the job done, no thanks. So mitigated the majority of the risk, ended up with a loss of, well, not really that much. Mild, very mild loss. I tried getting it going, but I just couldn't get it. And when it broke underneath the lows, it's a totally different trade. No longer valid for an impulse leg to the upside, which is why I'm jumping ship at break even, or even for a mild loss. Look at bar 2 on S&P. Yikes. Golly gee willikers, Batman. That thing looks like it's staring off the edge of a cliff. Nice bounce off settlement so far. The downside continuation off of the top has eventually, finally, broken off of the L5. Typically, sellers are going to be looking for an L2, which is what we're inside of right now. Three candles below the PO and the ES. Buyers losing hope. I mean, it's possible, sure. You know, the big thing that we're seeing right now is the market's not really doing anything. We're kind of balanced in the middle of nowhere. If we draw the top and bottom of the first five backward, we can see the one that makes the most sense, both sides of them. I mean, support, resistance, support, resistance, support, and resistance on both sides. It's just, it did it all in one. So we've got to kind of wait and see what they want to do here. I mean, if we're looking at the overall volume, the POC cluster's at the top, 79.50. That sheds a little light on what the anticipation is. Right now, the market's closing underneath it. The bulls have no hope of going higher unless they can get above that. Another inside bull bar, or another inside bar that happens to be bullish, sorry. Big caveat here, though, it was not an inside bar of the bear bar. So this is not an inside-inside. It's a double inside of the larger, but it's not an inside-inside. L2 sellers are trying to get something going. Remember, that's the anticipated response. We know that we have an L5 off of the top. Sellers are going to be looking for an L2. Now we're starting to breaking into L3s, showing that the L2s are wrong. $15,305 is the POC they left behind. Which is likely where a lot of the shorts are short from. Big old heavy bear bar. Whoa. Now remember, the L2 shorts are the ones that are underwater at the moment. I want to see how they respond to a retest of this L2. They didn't even get it. Holy crap, they didn't even get it. They're gone. Almost an L4 now. Sheesh. We've got the bulls breaking above the POC on the S&P 79.50. See what they want to do on this next pull. The L2 is where they're stuck from. Big bear bar. They're still above the POC. Market's coming back to the L2. Testing the POC, bouncing off of it a little bit. Nice little continuation pulse. Didn't get the bottom L2 sellers. Or at least didn't give them a chance to get out. S&P is breaking new RTH highs. As far as the NASDAQ is concerned, 1250 is the POC that they're still rejecting off of. The first 5-minute POC was a bit further up. That doesn't help at all at 21. Now, the last POC was closed above, and the market's pulling back to 301, treating it as support. These are things to be noted. We're underneath the previous seller's attempt. The L2, we finally gotten back down to that L2. This is a chance for them to maybe get out. We're seeing the POC shifting down. We're starting to see some things transition. May still be early. 84.50, I want to scalp the ES, but is it too far up? At 84.50 to scalp short? Off the range highs? It wouldn't hurt my feelings. Oh, for a long, up to 84.50? 80. I like 83.50 a lot more. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but 83.50 are the previous high closes, opens, etc. from back there. I like that a lot more. It's more reliable. It's not that they can't go further, but if it starts getting stalled a little bit, you know. Nice bounce off 301. I was there at 83.50, but greed whispered into my ear. Oh yeah, I know. Greed's a rotten SOB. And it shows up at the worst time. We've got the sellers with a halfway decent bear bar to the downside. Previous POC they left behind is at 301. Let's see how they respond this time around. Nice bear bars to the downside. Maybe wedging. Maybe sellers trying to get continuation. Remember, I still have somewhat of a long bias, but what I was trying to get done earlier totally changed. Wow. That POC jumped up fast. Ooh, that's a real bad fill. I can't accept that. I got to get out of that. I wanted to buy down when it was at, like, you know, 306. I can't have it there. Thank you. Jeez, oh Pete. All right, I like this dip for a potential to the upside. We do have 10 minutes until the Powell speech. Yep. I'm looking at this as more of an alligator's mouth snapping shut scenario, so I don't have to necessarily offer up too much risk, is the reason why I like this area. The bullish continuation to the upside and the upside objectives span all the way up from 315s to potentially up to the 22s, and maybe even further depending on how they respond to these POCs. Give me 1 second. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Got the bulls creeping back up. Another potential alligator's mouth snapping shut on this pullback. I really want to see the bulls pulse up on this. This is the spot where if the bulls are going to take it, they're going to rip the Band-Aid off and make this thing go nuts. But it's got to go. Wow, that pulse right there. Let's get more of that. Beautiful bullish continuation. I am out. No thanks. They were closing back underneath the POC. That is not what I wanted. That's a hard pass. I tried. Not worth it. Love you too. Drive safe. Yeah, I like this area from a short-term decision standpoint, but I like it a lot more from a more relaxed perspective. If I'm going to try to come in here, and the reason for that is because of how much overlying crap we've got going on from like the 15-minute. And look at all this stuff that's hanging over their head right now. The bulls have so much work to do, and you can feel them kind of tired, like, huh, it hasn't stopped them before. But I'm not relaxed in this range. I'm totally with you. That's why you'll notice how quick I'm getting in and out. I don't trust it. I don't know why, but I'm there with you. I don't trust it. Something's off. And maybe nothing happens, you know, and it's just false spidey senses. But I'm right there with you. Typically, yeah, typically those senses don't go off for no reason. Here's my concern, right? The Bulls have tried for so long all morning. Who's going to back them up anymore? They couldn't get it done. They couldn't get it done in the Euro session. That failed. The US session's not showing up to the party. I have concerns for the Bulls. I'm watching this. They closed right on top of it. Small little wedge. Sellers are under their short-term POC. The earlier longs have had a chance to get out at break-even, or at least modified break-evens, depending on how they managed it. I would love to see a good bull leg up for a lower high and then just train wreck everyone. But that might not be the case. Ooh, okay. Ooh, man, that's a spicy candle. Jeez. Oof. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There it goes. All right, well, it closed right on top of it. Yikes. That was not a nice way for that to form. Well, good thing I got out of the longs. Let's see if they're able to get that pulse back up. The S&P is still continuing. I mean, all things considering, it's got bull bars back to the upside, but I mean, look at the pressure it's under right now. When you've got one market that's pulsing down aggressively and the other is just kind of stagnant and stalling or showing sideways action, it's probably going to catch up, even if it is the Nasdaq leading, which is what you're seeing right now. Yeah, Jerome's got his hand on the F1 key. Lift the offer. Ooh, watch this little pulse back here. We've got the 10 o'clock news right around the corner. 475 is the POC that got left behind. Big bull bar wick to the upside. This bigger 15-minute picture scares the crap out of me for longs. Enter at 79.75. It goes to exactly 76. Exactly. Kick me up before going up. Of course. That's Murphy. I'm telling you, he's always hanging out in the bushes somewhere. Watch how they're playing this area. We're getting very close to news, and be very careful. Okay? We've got a lot of crap around the corner here at 10 o'clock. Are you looking for a buy or a... Right now I'm looking for a short on the Nasdaq. I think the longs have given up. But we haven't had a new low, which is my concern. We've had some intermediary swing lows, sure. But I like this pulse to the upside for these earlier longs who are trying to get it going, for a reason for them to try to jump ship. Like, okay, I give. Good enough, right? And we see that backdraft down. Yeah, the speech starts at 10 o'clock, but there's always pre-gaming ahead of it, trying to anticipate what he's going to say, etc., etc. You know how it is. I guess if the market does just straight pulse to the downside, I've only got that one. There was a small little trap underneath the lows at 89.75. That was a pip stop right there, if you've ever seen one. A pick your pocket. Got 2 minutes, well, 1.5 minutes until 10. First trade was long, 4 cents have been short. Great work. Nice job. Pulsing back up to the 475s. Cautious, though. Remember, we've got news in 30 seconds. You don't want to put too much risk with news in 30 seconds. I promise. I'm glad you're counting down the news, otherwise I'd be hitting the button. Yeah, exactly. I always forget about it. That's why I do it myself. Yeah, unless you're right. Then it's great when you stack the contracts. 60% of the time, it works every time. Pulse to the downside, way beyond the scalper's objective. Sure, nice drop underneath it. We're dealing with Scalp City here. Woo-hoo-hoo, lordy. Careful, careful. You want to see volatility, you're in it. I'm not going to sit with that one. No thanks. I'm out. Blammo! All right, well, I tried grabbing the short. I could have held on for more, but you can see I'm not messing with it. Holy moly. All right. Well, we got the downside targets. They filled nicely. Actually, a little bit of extra juice on it. Tried to get a follow-up short to the downside. Didn't want to stick. Jump ship. So did everybody else. Let's see where they want to go. All right, well, with this going into 10 o'clock, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, so let's transition over to the extended session and keep this going, because we have ourselves plenty of action. Jeez, oh Pete. Hang on a second. Ooh, that's a bad fill. I don't want that. Nope. Come on, come on. I am not an algo. I could not get that wick. Nice little drip. Nice little drippy dip. Not getting the pulse that I wanted, though. I'm going to jump ship. It's not worth hanging on. You've seen how much this thing can move. It's not worth the risk. All right. Before I get myself in trouble, I'm going to transition over and let this thing settle down for a second here. But as always, we're going into the weekend, so if you're ducking out for the weekend, I hope you have a great one. Enjoy, rest up, do something fun outside of the markets. Come back on Monday ready to rock and roll. For the rest of you, hang tight, and we will see you in the extended session, all right? Enjoy, have a great weekend. We'll see you all later. Thanks.